I have to say that I'm probably going to get roasted here, but I'm extremely happy to see that Mr. Tommy Robinson has been released from prison, because there was obviously a campaign to break this guy psychologically, or at the least, or get him killed in prison. The fact that it's they've released him for so-called contempt of court, and the judge, the highest in Britain, has threw it out of court and said it was unjust and it wasn't done properly. You could see from the videos before that the judge who presided in Leeds was against this guy. Now, is Mr. Robinson a racist? I have to be honest, when I first saw him many years ago, through the EDL and all this kind of business, I thought he was. But then I saw him on a couple of interviews that he had on TV. My immediate thing was, this guy's a racist, this guy's a racist. But when I started actually watching him, he was saying, look, I'm not a racist. I'm just against, the Islamic faith, the ideology that is the radical ideology, and his description of what gone on in Luton Town. I had remembered an incident that happened to a white couple that had gone to Luton Town and were looking for directions, and they stopped to speak to this Muslim guy, and said, "Oh, could you tell us how to get to this particular place?" And he said to him, "Go on, get out of here. This is not your town. This is our town. So get out. You shouldn't be here." So that's what started to form my opinion when I heard what he was saying, what was going on in Luton, and I began to think, perhaps, even though he had this, background of hooliganism, and he was a football supporter and all this kind of business. But the thing is, people can change, and people do change over time. So if you're going to consistently hold that against him all the time, what he did when he's 18 and 19 and 20 and whatever, and the fact that he is changing and evolving all the time, the fact that he was persuaded to give up the EDL, the leadership of the EDL, and come out of that, was a testament to the fact that he left the EDL. His opinion was that he didn't start the EDL with fascist people. He started up with his friends and a few people that he knew, and he said that there were black people and other people in the actual organisation, but it grew, and it unfortunately attracted the kind of people who would have joined the old National Front or the BNP. So it basically spiraled out of control for him, and he had to basically leave. But the point of the fact of the matter is that everything that Tommy has said has come to be. Britain is becoming, or slowly becoming, a country that is just pandering consistently to the Muslim doctrine. And although Britain's past in colonial times how can I put it, has been patchy. Today, Britain is a great place to live. And for me, as a black person living in the United Kingdom, is Britain is one of the greatest places in the world. There are many things that piss me off, but a lot of the time one just has to get up in the morning and take oneself out and go about your business. Britain is nowhere. It is a million miles away from the 60s, the 50s, the 40s, even the 70s and the 80s. Britain is now a place where, black people, if they apply themselves, can thrive. We're seeing that already. And we know what went on in the past. We mustn't forget that, but we need to move forward. But we need to move forward together. And what we don't want is an ideology to take over this country. I mean, you've got places like Birmingham now is, I think, 66 to 70% now. The 30% of it is white. You see, Luton is literally now a Muslim city. And so, where is this going to stop? When is it going to end? Being a Christian myself and a Catholic, I don't go to church. Shh, don't tell everybody. But, being born a Catholic and both parents being Catholic, it is what I know. And the Christian faith did some very bad things in the past because of the people. The teachings of God, Jesus Christ, were very clear. And just like some of the Muslims today twist the religion to their point of view, Christianity went through the same thing. Christianity had massive radical people, very evil, very nasty people. You look at the Spanish Inquisition, you look at the Catholic Church in France, you look at the Protestants and the Catholics in Ireland, and all that nonsense that went on. So, and Christianity is still going through that to a degree, but it had its enlightenment. The Muslim faith hasn't had its enlightenment and is still continuing today in this, backward, its backward behaviour in the way in which it deals with people. You cannot challenge it under any circumstances. And you only look at Hyde Park. Consistently, there are near punch-ups or fights that are occurring in Hyde Park because of the fact that Muslims now fill up the whole of that place. Whereas I think people were saying 15, 20 years ago that there was hardly any that would go down there at all. Now, the majority of people, it seems, who are going there now are Muslims to police and patrol what people say about their religion. And the moment you say something they feel that's insulting their religion, bang, they start to fight. So, but getting back to Tommy Robinson, I mean, you look at the pictures here. Just look at him here, especially this one here. He looks really cool. I mean, look at him compared to there. He's lost about 40 pounds in the 2 months he's been in prison. He couldn't eat any of the food that he was given to by they took him out of a reasonable jail that had about 7% Muslims that were there, into another jail, deliberately moved him out of that jail into one that was literally probably 80, 90% Muslims. And the people who cooked the food were the staff. And apparently, they would say to him, Tommy, do you enjoy your food? Do you enjoy your food? Because obviously they'd obviously tampered with his food. And so he couldn't eat the food. He had to buy his own food. He had to spend money to buy food. And he had tins of tuna in order to try and survive on. This guy, hopefully, when he wins, when he's got to go to court again, I'm not sure when it is, but when it's all over, he needs to sue the judicial system or the government or whoever it is for putting him in prison. This was an injustice that occurred. It's wrong. It's about what your views are of this guy. You can't throw people into jail in this way and to make them suffer. This is absolutely wrong. And so I'm glad he's out, and thank God that he wasn't killed in prison or died in prison. I don't think he's a racist. I think he's just standing up for Britain and as a country, and many of the things that are occurring are the upper echelons are controlling and driving, because if we're not careful, we'll have another World War I and World War II, where the upper echelons of society deliberately went out of their way to cause these wars in order for them to sell, to become rich, from the production and sales of arms. These are the reasons why these wars occur. And who goes out to fight these wars? The working class man goes out to fight these wars and die at these wars. So we can't allow these people to carry on with this kind of behaviour. The British people, working class people, need to wake up and understand that they are being controlled by the middle to upper classes in society. And Tommy Robinson is a working class man who is fighting the establishment. He's the enemy of the British state. And, for me, I just don't see the guy as a racist. He believes in Britain. And if you're a British person living in Britain, you should also, whether you're black, white, brown, or whatever, you should be fighting for Britain every day. Britain is a great country, and we don't want to see it go under because of politically correct twats out there. So for me, I'm very happy that Mr. Robinson's out and he survived the horrendous time that he was there. Anyway, thanks for listening.